Hello everyone, and welcome to another Let's Play of the Royal Trap by Hanako Games. My name is Anna Mardell. I'm sorry I haven't updated this week. I don't usually belabor it much in my videos, but I am physically disabled, and so this week I've basically been confined to bed with a bad pain flare-up. So occasionally there are going to be gaps in my posting, and I'm sorry, and that's normal. I'm okay. It's just that's why. So the last 7 videos, I think it was, we did the walkthrough for the Gaston ending, and I thought today we might go through and do Oscar's ending. I'm not a big fan of Oscar. Nothing personal against him. He doesn't really feel like a good romance partner for Madeline, but he does also kind of feel like the standard, the one that the game expects you to go after. And I already know the steps to his ending, so I thought, well, let's just do this thing. So we're gonna go through. I can't put the text on skip because I've already seen all this, so it would just skip for me. And also, some of y'all suggested not using skip because it happens so fast that people can't pause and see the text on the screen. So we'll go through. I will try not to read all the the text each time, just the new text, which will involve me having to remember what's new and what isn't. But I think we can do pretty good. And we may not do this. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 chapters at once instead of 1 chapter per video, because hopefully we'll go through just a little bit faster, but we'll see. So I'm gonna say start game. Prologue, the presentation. So this is Madeline and Oscar, and Madeline is getting him ready to be presented to the princess of the kingdom that we're visiting. And Oscar is not is not the most stereotypically manly or masculine of princes. He tried to grow out his hair for an adventurous man's ponytail and cut it all off because it bothered him. And now his hair is sweet and rumpled and boyish. And so he's worried because this is a big event for him. It's, I believe, the first time he's been presented to a princess before. And of course, if you've watched the previous playthrough, which I definitely recommend, princes in this world do not have a tremendous amount of political authority. Once they become kings, they do have a great deal of authority, but they first have to find a princess who is willing to marry the prince and make him king of her lands and estate. And in this world, when a princess marries a prince and he becomes king, she is not queen, she is the king's wisdom, or just wisdom Paloma, wisdom Cassidy, that sort of thing. Oscar and Madeline have been together for a long time, and they have a very complicated relationship. She's his valet and helps to dress him and prepare him for this marriage market that he is being groomed for. She is Miss Madeline Valois. She's the daughter of an insignificant noble house, and she's born the second daughter, which means that she's not an heiress like her sister is. She's kind of, her sister's the heir and she's the spare. When she was very young, through various shenanigans, she met and defended and protected the young Prince Oscar, and his parents felt that she would make a good valet for him because she was clever enough to get him out of mistakes and loyal enough to defend him if all else failed. So what was her greatest mistake was her greatest opportunity, because it led to her getting this job and this place of her own that she otherwise would not have had. She isn't well paid and hasn't really been able to make a lot of thoughts for her future yet, but it's a position at court. And if her prince does well and becomes a king, then that could help her as well. She doesn't think that this time, in this occasion, where he's being presented to a princess for the first time, will probably end with him getting married. This kingdom, Guelinor, is large and powerful, and the competition is likely to be fierce. And they've never met Princess Cassidy, who has been kept in seclusion, but she's quite young and is under no obligation to choose a husband in a hurry. But this is a good opportunity for him because he'll gain experience and he can use that in the future. And it's a good opportunity for Madeline because she can watch and see where he's good at, where he's not, what things he's not good at, and groom him even better for the next time around. So this is a very political marriage market environment that they're living in. I think you're ready. Are you coming? You're allowed to attend the presentation, just not the ball. Of course, I need to see your competition. Good. Madeline? Yes? I want you to know, I really appreciate everything you do for me. So you have a couple of choices. Well, we had the option to say, I know that, which I was calling the Han Solo option. And we had the option to say, stop wasting time. Or there's, I appreciate you too. This doesn't really affect the ending, but we are going for the ending where we end up with Oscar, so we're going to be a little bit more lovey-dovey to him than we were the first time around. I feel the same way about you, my lord. You do? Of course. I couldn't have asked for a better employer. Right. He lets out a slow breath and shakes his head. Well, I suppose we should go. This is the presentation hall where we're going to meet Cassidy for the first time. And I'm going to be struggling a little bit with going back and forth between how much to read and how much not to read. Only 3 foreign princes are present for these festivities. 5 were invited, but 1 politely declined, and the other, somewhat less politely, refused to attend any event which involved Prince Nazagi. Therefore, the debut becomes an intimate affair, and might appear that much more advantageous for those present. But the central focus is the Princess Cassidy, who has been kept in almost total seclusion since she was very young. And that's Cassidy with the pretty pink hair. Guelinor's heir has been famously kept in a cloistered existence until now, out of fear for her health. The princess must have only the barest blush of 18 years, younger even than Oscar, yet her face holds more maturity than her years would allow. So this is Cassidy, and she is the princess and heir of Guelinor. So whoever she marries, if she picks someone to marry, will be the king, the next king of Guelinor. Now that the princess is in place, the guest can be announced. His Royal Highness, the Prince Gaston. This is Gaston, who we met in the previous playthrough, and he is a golden barrel of a man, his curls as gleaming as the buckles on his shoes and every conceivable place in between. And we got to meet him, and actually he ended up being our new employer, and we ended up sort of living happily ever after with his maid. So that was fun and nice, and he sparkles and glitters. It is my greatest pleasure to be in the presence of such a rare flower as your highness. Thank you. In honor of your anniversary, I present you with this rare Tapuchian essence. May its scent bring you joy. So he's giving her a bottle of perfume as a gift. And she's being coached not to open it because apparently his perfumes are overpoweringly strong. The next prince to be introduced is Prince Nozagi. The Prince of Azeneth is a slender, sharp-featured man attired in the finest silks, which glides soundlessly along the floor as he walks. And so he has a cruel face, but Madeline believes that probably his vaunted cruelty is a figment derived largely from his expression. And he has a path of allyship, which I have not taken yet, but we will. You are very kind, Prince Nozagi. Be welcome. Prince Nozagi bows a second time, then steps backwards, retreating without ever turning his back on the princess. And then it is our turn. His Royal Highness the Prince Oscar. He may not be the most elegant man in the room, but Oscar is a prince nonetheless. He walks with confidence, then presses his hand to his chest and bows with one foot sliding respectfully back. Your Highness, I thank you for granting me the opportunity to meet you and to convey my good wishes in person. I bring you the gift of a flower that will never fade. He holds up a blue velvet presentation box containing a brooch in the shape of a rose, its petals encrusted with jewels. It's lovely! Thank you! She seems honestly pleased, and his answering grin is equally sincere. Had he stopped there, he would have left an excellent impression. I also wrote you a poem. Would you like to hear it? Oh no. As fairest maid to fairest day can wish the darkest cares away, as fish and frogs shall meet and laugh upon the golden seed and chaff. The servant behind the princess clears her throat audibly. Perhaps you could tell it to me later. I mustn't keep everyone waiting. Oh, right. So we're going to finish up the presentation of the princes. And there's a fourth prince in the palace, Prince Caleb, the youngest living son of the King of Guelenor and still a bachelor. So he is Cassidy's younger brother. Well, I say that. I think I say it wrong because I believe Cassidy is younger than him. He is the youngest of her brothers, we'll put it that way. I'm not good with dates and birthdays. In the name of my mother, wise Paloma, I bid you all welcome to Guelenor. May your visits be filled with joy. With those words, she withdraws from our company. So, there's going to be dinner, a feast, and a ball, and in the meantime, we get to make ourselves, we have some free time. I expect we servants have far more fun spying on the activities of our masters. And Madeline has excellent spying skills. She can climb walls like a spider. As the gathering dissolves, Oscar touches my arm and takes me aside. Well, what do you think? Did she like me? She appears to like everyone. Be serious. In terms of gifts, she clearly had more interest in the jewelry and the perfume than in the silk. But what did she think of me? That you're young and impetuous and don't know when to stop talking, I expect, and that your poetry is terrible. No, that's what you think. That's what everyone thinks, because it's true. So you think she doesn't like me? I didn't say that. She's new at this too. She's young, she's lonely, and her manners aren't perfectly polished. You should talk to her tonight. You might make good friends. Right, the ball. There's something I should tell you. You changed your mind about the shoes? No, the shoes are fine. It's... In my valise, there's a red scroll case. There's a letter inside it. The letter is for you. What? Why would he be carrying a letter for me? Who could it be from? I don't have any other close connections. My family? They see me once a year to ensure I haven't lost my position or disgraced my upbringing, and other than that, they barely seem to remember that I exist. I can't see them sending me praises or asking for favors. What if some ill fate did befall my sister? What if they want me to give up my place and go back to them as if nothing had ever happened? I have to go. It's my duty. But don't look so worried. That's easy for him to say. Just read it, all right? He wants my reassurance, so I'd better give it to him. After all, this could be nothing, and I don't want to distract him from his performance tonight. All right. Good. I'll see you later tonight. Now he's the one looking worried. Relax. You're doing fine. Go and have a good time. But not too good, right? Try not to cause an international incident, my lord. There's no use in trying to sound formal when you're scolding me. Yes, my lord. Now that's no fun. No, my lord. He sighs and shakes his head. All right, I'm going. I don't answer him, but merely nod my head. So now Madeline is on her own and takes a roundabout route back to their assigned quarters. And I do like that she does always kind of scout and keep aware of her surroundings. Oscar told me not to worry, which in itself probably means that I should. If he can say such a thing, he must know what the letter is. Quick as begun is soon as done. I open the valise and carefully lift out folded items of clothing until I discover the cylinder of red leather. What is this? I open the box to find another piece of jewelry, though a far cry from the sparkling fantasy offered to Princess Cassidy. It's a pendant, a polished stone wrapped in wire, its color a warm honey gold speckled with light. But why is it here? My dearest Maddie, I've been wanting to tell you how I feel, but every time I try, you turn me aside or laugh it away. I would write you a poem, but I know you hate my poetry, so I'll just say it simply. I love you. I know that you can never return my affections. You still think of me as that child with his hand caught in a cookie jar, a little boy who didn't even come up to your chin. I get older, but so do you, and I can't ever catch up. I'm telling you this because it's true, and not because I expect you to do anything about it. That's why I'm writing it down instead of telling you in person. I don't want to embarrass you or make you have to answer. I would never want you to pretend to love me. All I want is for you to know how I feel. Please wear my token to show that you understand, and I will never mention it again. I want to know that you know, and that you don't hate me. That's all. You want me to be a good prince and win a royal bride, so I'll do it, but I'm doing it for you. Yours, Oscar. The letter goes blurry as my eyes sting with moisture. Oh, Oscar, do you really think it's just because you're younger than I am? He's a prince, the son of a king. He's been raised in luxury and trained to govern and inspire. I am a servant with no land, no fortune, no inheritance at all. What would he have if he married me? Whatever gift his family saw fit to hand out, if they didn't disown him on the spot. And then nothing. My employment would by necessity be terminated, and we would be turned out into the town to support ourselves. A fool's paradise soon crumbled to dust. What would we do? Neither he nor I have ever been trained in a profession. Where would we live? It doesn't matter how I feel about him or how he feels about me. It can't happen. I wouldn't do that to him. He's wrong to think I didn't know. Of course I knew. All the more reason for me to keep my own emotions under control. Practically from my cradle I was trained in self-control. My emotions, my reactions, even my face. Never to flinch, never to cry, never to say what I wanted or to have any wants beyond doing what my parents told me to. It remains my nature to be cautious and quiet and restrained, no matter how I feel inside. I'm good at it, sometimes so good that I don't even know my own feelings anymore, except with Oscar. He makes me laugh. He teases me and forces me to tease him back. He lights up when he smiles. Even now, when he's not here, he's almost managing to make me cry. He's been my best friend all these years. I owe him everything, and I won't let him ruin his life for me. But if through some miracle I were granted an estate of my own. And so we have a choice. He said I still wouldn't marry him, or I might consider it. And we're going to pick I might consider it. Then, perhaps. Oscar and I have been together so long. I don't know what I would do without him. He is sometimes clumsy and foolish, yes, but with a heart like a star. Always optimistic, always dreaming, always kind. And sometimes I imagine... No, he's a prince. He's allowed to be a dreamer. I can't afford to waste my time thinking about what might have been. I don't want to lose him, but I have no choice. Falling in love would only bring disaster. Whatever my feelings, I must harden my heart against him. At least he's had the sense to avoid the indignity of a scene. He claims this letter ends the matter with no reply necessary. If we never speak of this again, he can believe whatever comforts him the most. That's what matters, after all. His comfort, his future. But if this necklace is a love token, wearing it openly might give him false hope or raise questions from others. It would not benefit his chances with a princess to have me seen as his paramour. I'm going to choose that we wear the necklace. The only thing that Oscar asked for was a sign that I knew and accepted his feelings, not that I shared in them. How can I deny him that? I fastened the clasp of the chain behind my neck and let the smooth, cold stone settle against my chest. It's just a little trinket, after all. No one but Oscar will even notice. So then, that is resolved. It is done, and I don't need to think about it again. So now we're kind of back on the same track that we were there before, where she doesn't know what to do with her free time. So she picks cards. It is a difficult game, requiring patience and skill. Extracting kings and wisdoms from a solid castle should never be an easy task. As for the lesser royals, they sometimes extract themselves. Oscar must have dodged all of his binders in order to buy that token without raising questions. Well, if I provided the motivation for him to stretch himself a bit, that's all to the good. I have done my job the best I could. I have straightened his posture and flattered his looks. I have kept him active, but unharmed. I have eavesdropped and intrigued on his behalf. If I had truly convinced him to give up the poetry, I would consider it a complete success. But on balance, all is well. No doubt he will make a royal marriage at some point. Sometime later, my card game is interrupted by a knock at the door. So now Dolores, the page who is too old to be a page, is going to take us to dinner. And of course we're going to see quite a bit more of her later. No doubt she's dawdling with me in order to avoid some more onerous duty. I can't blame her, I've played the same game myself. That's a pretty thing you're wearing. My hand flies by instinct to cover the amber stone. I force myself to relax. Thank you. Mind your toes at dinner, miss. Those Sophie folk are here, and they're hard people. So already people are noticing our necklace. Duke Farod. He's at the ball, of course. Now, Duke Farod is the husband of Duchess Sophie, and their recently born infant daughter is the next heir to the throne if something should happen to Cassidy. Politics. Her language skills may be unpolished, but she does know her way around. She might even be a useful source of information during our stay here. I heard it from the boot boy that one of them had to be sent home in disgrace for planning to cause a scene at the ball. They were going to have a fight about clothes? Oh no, it wasn't those. This was a young lady who'd heard the story about the princess dying of the plague. Well, it's a sour bite to say it, but there's rumors sometimes. What rumors? That the little princess went the same way as her brother Caspian, and the one we've got now is an impostor. Anyone who's ever seen the princess and the king's wisdom together knows better. So there are rumors that Cassidy is not the wisdom's child. And in this universe, the heir is based on whether you're the wisdom's daughter or not. It doesn't matter who the father, the paternal parenting is. I mean, it would be scandalous, but they would still inherit the throne. So I joined the others of my rank, the confidants and supporters of the noble elite. It is not difficult to identify the footmen of Duke Farad. Despite their position, they are a mismatched pair in clothing so plain that it barely merits the title of uniform. They sit in silence and stare at the palace servants, who give them a wide berth. It would appear there is some long-standing disagreement in Guelenor between the royal family and this Duke and Duchess, one that extends even to the servant ranks. We're going to see more of Duke Farad as we go through this playthrough. So that's why you're getting a close look at his servants. Afterwards, the proper thing to do is return to our rooms to await my master. What I intend to do, of course, is something less proper, to find the viewing chamber that page mentioned and cast my eye over the festivities. I'm sure everything is fine. Oscar has never had any difficulty with dancing lessons. Still, he might make little mistakes, and it would fall to me to discover those faults and train them out. He is, after all, a prize stallion of sorts. So these are the back corridors behind or above the ballroom where we can eavesdrop. The crush of music and laughter is already clear. Oscar must be out there somewhere, but it may take a few minutes to pick him out. I hear footsteps approaching, and at first think nothing of it. That is not a servant. My lord? So Prince Caleb is going to give us a hard time. Madeline Valois, my lord, valet to Osendower. What is he doing here? He is a prince. He should be dancing with the nobles assembled below. Could the man be, of all things, lost in his own palace? And we're going to go skip through the Caleb dialogue just a little bit. I will dwell on him more when we do the Caleb walkthrough. It is a complete breach of decorum for him to set foot here at all. I am observing, my lord. Like the little cinder girl, watching and dreaming of what she can never have. I beg your pardon. He's quite rude. I'm going to skip through this just a little bit, otherwise we will be here all day. Gosh, I forgot how long this... Well, dutiful spy, it seems you have nothing to worry about. There may even be wedding bells in his future. What? There he is. Oscar, his hair glittering in the light of the chandelier, and a young woman in his arms. Princess Cassidy. She's smiling at him. They look happy. Of course they look happy. They're royalty. They've been trained to be dazzlingly polite in all circumstances. She'll dance with all of her suitors. That's why they're here. It's nothing. So they're getting along very well. Strolling like lovers. What if I was wrong? What if they're a perfect match? If she chose him, Oscar would not hesitate to do his duty, regardless of any childish infatuations. Even the letter. He knew as he wrote it that it meant nothing. he so much as said that confessing gave him closure. It allowed him to put it all behind him, never to be mentioned again. There are no obstacles in his path. If she chose him, here and now, that would be that. He would leave, and I would be... I stepped back from the sight, intending to make my apologies to Prince Caleb, but he is nowhere to be seen. He must have left while I was distracted. So now Madeline is having emotional turmoil at not being ready yet to face the facts that Oscar may not need her anymore. He only this evening sent me that letter. But who knows when he wrote it? Before he met her, certainly. Days, weeks ago it could have been. Old news. I have no right to feel betrayed. I've told him dozens of times that we are nothing but friends. It's only natural for him to respond to a pleasant young princess who might be interested in him. I must stay calm. In all likelihood, this will come to nothing. The princess is a sheltered young woman, enjoying the attentions being paid to her, but she's also an heiress who has been raised to her responsibilities. Perhaps Cassidy and Oscar might come to an understanding in time, but her family would insist that she meet others first. Even if they were swept away by some mad passion and declared an engagement on the spot, which would be an incredible scandal, it would take months to organize a formal wedding. Disaster is not imminent. I have to believe that. But Madeline is coming to face the facts that she hasn't planned ahead. Sooner or later she'll lose her position with Oscar, and she has to decide what she'll do next. There's no other princes in Osendower, but there's other young men she could train for wooing heiresses. There's teaching, like small children. She doesn't want to rely on her other skills, since living by the blade tends to die by it as well. How could I have let this happen? I knew my life with Oscar couldn't last. I told myself that I was being the wise one, that I was focusing on what was most important and not letting myself be distracted. Perhaps if Oscar marries well, their majesties will see fit to reward me. I am an adult now, and I have earned their trust. They might have a new position in mind. With royal support and a higher pay rate, I would be able to make a home for myself. I am drawn from my contemplations by a strange sound, or perhaps an absence of sound. I'm not entirely sure. Something is wrong. If someone or something burst through those doors, I would rather not be struck in the face. Heavy footsteps, the clash of metal, a fist hammering on the door. What's going on? The princess has been kidnapped by your master. What? Oh, Oscar, what have you done? So that ends the prologue, which I think my first prologue where we did Gaston was like an hour long. And this one's a little over 30 minutes, so we're going a little faster. And that's good. And this, I love the anime sequence opening, introducing everyone. Gives us all the major players. And Cassidy crying, which makes me unhappy. And there's Nozagi in what look like glasses, so that would explain why he always moves so carefully and never turns his back on anyone. And when he met us when we were pretending to be Cassidy, everything in that scene seemed a little off, which would make more sense if he needs glasses and isn't wearing them. And there's Madeline with her awesome daggers. So, I think I'm going to continue and go through chapter 1 rather than cut this off here. So, here we go. Chapter 1, The Investigation. Now again, the presentation hall is filled with guests and guards, more than before and far less friendly. So they had said that Oscar had kidnapped the princess, but later, I mean, he's right here, obviously. Oscar has not, in fact, eloped with the princess in a fit of madness. He is here, bruised, dirtied, scratched, and alone. According to the guards, he was discovered lying senseless under a rose bush. Of Cassidy, there was no sign. So maybe they discovered him under the rose bush after they jumped to the conclusion that he'd kidnapped Cassidy. Like, they were both missing. They assumed he kidnapped her. And then, oh no, wait, here he is. But still, that was quite the conclusion to jump to. Pull yourself together, boy, and speak respectfully. That is Duke Ferrod the Disliked, and on first impressions, I cannot say that I am fond of him either. He is a pale man, whose lips draw together in a pinched expression. His clothing, though well tailored, is too somber for the festive occasion that this anniversary was meant to be, and his voice snaps like the switch ill-bred gentlemen wield on their servants. Oscar looks back at the Duke, his lip curling slightly. Then with a slight shake of his head, he draws himself to his full height. Her Highness wished to show me the alba roses in the moonlight. She told me the garden was enclosed on all sides. There did not seem to be any danger. Obviously, the other suitors are unhappy that the princess that they came here to woo has suddenly disappeared. and of course they're going to accuse their prince and rival of being underhanded and in on this. It is terribly convenient that you are alone, in the dark, out of sight. How fortunate for you that you were completely unharmed by this mysterious assault. When only you are able to find and rescue her, you will claim her hand as the reward. Your Majesties, may I speak? Go ahead. Everyone who saw them knew that Oscar and Cassidy were pleased with each other. Surely of all the princes, he would be the least likely to try such a thing. Of course not, my lord. If someone did scheme to kidnap the princess in order to force her into marriage, it probably wouldn't be a man who had a good chance of winning her without it. The benefit would not be worth the risk. If there's a plot, then someone has something to gain, something that's worth risking their life for. So who benefits? All of a sudden, the king's wisdom goes pale, clutching at her husband's arm for support. I cannot guess what thought has occurred to her, but I must press forward my point while I can. As my lord has suggested, I believe it is important to locate her enlightened highness as soon as possible, before whoever is behind this has a chance to cause further mischief. And you'll notice that Caleb is not present for this meeting. His gaze sweeps the room. You will all be escorted to your rooms under guard. You are being treated like an honored guest. Your chambers will remain private, and you will remain within them. All of you, including you, Ferrod. Your Majesty, I assure you, I want to help with the search. Be quiet, both of you. As far as I'm concerned, you are the prime suspects. You will return to your rooms and stay there, and pray that my daughter is found unharmed. Oh, Oscar, you never did learn when it was best to avoid being noticed. When his eyes fall upon the amber stone at my neck, a tiny smile warms his face. And then the guards come for us both. This is bad, very bad. If the princess isn't found quickly and word leaks out, all of Guelinor will be in chaos. There hasn't been a true war between civilized lands in a century. The repercussions could bring destruction beyond imagining. And if the blame for such a disaster were placed on Oscar, his family might well give him up, rather than risk open war on his behalf. The guards escort us to our rooms, but true to the king's word, they do not follow us inside. While within these walls, our territory is still sovereign. I begin changing my gloves and shoes into something more appropriate. You're going out, aren't you? Don't worry, everything will be all right. Wait, don't go yet. Can we talk, please? So we had a choice before. Between the letter and the dance and the attack, he must be feeling torn to pieces. I know he's upset, but the fact remains that every minute now could make the difference. If we leave immediately, which we did before, we see the king and the king's wisdom talking about the terrible secret of Cassidy and Caspian. If we stay, which we haven't done before, then we'll get new dialogue with Oscar. All right. But not for long. Maybe it's wrong, but I can't leave him like this. He needs me, and I need him to be okay. Are you all right? I'm fine. It's only bruises. I should have fought harder or made more noise, I suppose. It all happened so fast. Why didn't Cassidy help you? I don't think she can fight. Well... now we come to it. The romance. I can see it in his smile. I take a seat and school my face to hide any hint of reaction. I must not appear jealous. Go on, tell me about her. She's very sweet, attentive. She's not like my sisters at all. She was so easy to talk to. We'd keep thinking of new things to say, and she doesn't think I'm stupid. You're not stupid. He laughs and shakes his head. I think we all are, sometimes. But with her, I wasn't afraid of making a mistake. She told me about Caspian, how he died so young. Do you know, they wouldn't even let her play with her own brothers after that? They were so afraid of her falling ill, they never let her have friends. She said she hoped the two of us would be very good friends. I wanted that. Friends? You mean you two weren't planning the wedding? What? Well, I liked her, but don't you think that would be a bit sudden? Of course it would. All that worry for nothing, and now we've got far worse to worry about. I just feel awful. She was so nice, and I wanted to make her happy, and I let her down. You said earlier that it was Cassidy's idea to go into the gardens, right? Sure. I didn't even know there was a garden out there until she pointed it out. It was too dark to see it through the glass. And how did the guards know to find you? I'm not sure. I think they came looking for us because we'd been out of sight too long. So she lured you into the dark, and she didn't scream for help when you were attacked. What are you suggesting? I don't know. It's just that, well, if you say she had no freedom and no friends. I remember living like that, and I at least did have my own sister as a companion. I was still allowed to travel. How much worse to be a prisoner in your own palace. Even a perfect princess would break eventually. She might have organized a plan to get away from her minders for a while. I doubt we'll find her in the cellar with the sweets, but she might have run on her own. I did. Of course I would have run, but I would not have gotten someone like Oscar hurt in the process. That's wonderful! What? Well, that means she's all right, right? If it was really her idea, and if her fellow conspirators don't betray her, and if she doesn't manage to get herself hurt during her adventure. Oh, that's why I have to go and find her. Yes, right. Be careful. I grasp his shoulder and give it a little shake. Everything will be all right. And now it will be a simple matter to slip out unseen, out of a window, that is. And now we're kind of back on track to where we were before. So Madeline picks her way around the castle in the darkened service corridors and isn't, of course, able to find anything on just a scattershot, randomized search. And even though she's talking to the servants, everything is gossip and hearsay, and she can't really grant credence to any of it. It's all mostly useless. If someone tells me she heard from a butler who heard from a maid that a guard saw a suspicious figure in the morning music chamber, well, even if it was accurate when it was first heard, and even if it hadn't been altered by passing through so many mouths, it's old news by now. If Cassidy arranged her own disappearance, where might she have gone to hide? If it was someone else, where might they have put her? What contacts do they have, and what do they know? Just running around loose on my own isn't likely to make a difference, but I don't have any connections here until we run into Dolores. You and your prince are supposed to be in your rooms. Not that it stopped the others. The others? But you don't expect a great lord to stay still on the say-so of a nobody guard, do you? Those that are born that way know who makes their rules. So now we get to have an option of whose rooms to go search. I tap the side of my nose with my finger meaningfully. So you don't want to? I take back my earlier assessment. She may be observant in some ways, but she certainly didn't invent gunpowder. Yes, I would like to have a look. So we have 3 rooms we can search. Dolores, miss. Dolores, I'm trying to find your princess and prevent a civil war, which Dolores does not care about. What do you want? That necklace you're wearing is very pretty. Oscar's necklace? So the options are to give it away or offer money instead. We're going to offer money. I reach through the slit in my clothes for my purse and fetch out 4 silver ducats. Here, more than it's worth and more use to you. Present from someone special then, miss? None of your business. Very well, lady, whatever. So the options are Duke Farad, Prince Gaston, or Prince Nozaki. So we don't really care about Gaston, and we don't really care about Nozaki. I mean, we care about him, but not for this playthrough. So we're going to go visit Duke Farad. The Duke and his bunch won't even let the chambermaids in to air their rooms. Don't know if it's territory or if they've got something in there. I heard it from a junior scullion that someone saw a girl who looked like the princess in his room once. Which was his maid Colette wearing the princess wig that we saw. So we're going to go visit Duke Farad. Fine, now let's get moving. And whatever you do, don't tell anyone I helped you. The page leads me to Duke Farad's room, where she unlocks the door and holds it open for me to slip quietly inside. Then, her purpose served, she leaves me to my task. There tends to be a certain similarity to these guest quarters. After all, there is no way to know who might be residing within them at any time. However, there is something odd about the rooms assigned to Duke Farad, a difference that nags at me until I can place it. The walls are bare of ornament, no hanging lamps, no clocks, no portraits, and most importantly, the suggestion of pale outlines where such things might once have been placed. Nothing visible but closed cabinets and a long wooden chest on the floor. Could Duke Farad and his attendants be pilfering the palace treasures? It would seem a foolish thing to do so openly, but as the Duke and Duchess are powerful figures within Guelenor, the crown might not wish to risk instability over a few petty thefts. That chest, it looks too rough-hewn for palace issue. Something they brought with them? If they are appropriating items, it might be a logical storage location. There's a lock on the lid, of course, but that is little obstacle. I am capable of getting past a simple lock, given enough time. More than it could be safe to spend fumbling in an open corridor. Here, in private, I have the luxury of being unhurried. However, it is often wise not to take obstacles at face value. I feel around the wooden sides and am rewarded with a hidden catch which bypasses the lock entirely, popping the lid open. Now for a look inside. To my surprise, the chest contains neither missing objects chart nor incriminating paperwork relating to the princess's disappearance. Instead, it is packed with 3 muskets, bayonets, balls, and powder, weapons that no civilized guest should be bringing to an occasion like this. Back away from that, carefully, or I'll spit you where you stand. My breath catches. Apparently, I was too hasty in assuming these rooms were unoccupied. Turning, slowly, I find myself facing the point of Duke Farad's blade. He is only one man with one weapon, and I am not helpless. I would not make much of a companion for a prince if I were so easily cowed. However, every gentlewoman knows that sometimes submission is the best defense. He is within his rights, and I am not. If I challenged him here, then come victory or defeat, my prince would still be disgraced.
As such, I offered no resistance. We were promised inviolable territory. Has all tradition been cast aside, or are you acting on your own? Wait, you're not one of Friedrich's. You're the servant of that witless princeling. Or perhaps not so witless. Has he sent you to plant evidence, then?
I draw myself up with as much dignity as I can manage, after having been caught with my hands in the sack, as it were. I am searching for Princess Cassidy.
Indeed. And why did you expect to find her here?
I didn't expect anything. I was searching for clues. I point to the forbidden chest behind me. You obviously have something to hide. The king seemed to believe that either you or Oscar would be the most likely culprit, and since I know that Oscar is innocent, that leaves you.
Do you honestly know so little of the situation as that? You should pay more attention to your lessons, girl. I am the obvious suspect, because my wife is the daughter of the current wisdom's sister, and she has just blessed me with an heir.
Oh. His wife, the Duchess Sophia, is Princess Cassidy's cousin, and would have been second in the line of succession before her marriage. If Cassidy is dead, then Sophia's infant daughter becomes the new princess.
Even if it were otherwise, you insult my intelligence to suggest that I would hold my cousin here.
But here, my lord, is where the crown swore not to look. I thought it was important that someone did.
Child, they searched each of our rooms when we were called to assembly.
Of course they did. I should have realized. Any such search must have been cursory, but enough to discover a prisoner tucked quickly out of sight. Still, just because the rooms were checked earlier doesn't mean they shouldn't be checked again now. She could have been moved after the search.
Better, but you're still far out of your depth.
If you mean the princess no harm, why are you traveling with firearms?
In case someone else means harm to me and mine.
With a shrug, he sheathes his dagger.
If you are what you seem, girl, your instincts are sound, but your experience is lacking. Return to your master before someone notices you missing and draws more shadow over us. If you are playing a deeper role in this game, be grateful that I do not yet have cause to kill you. Now leave.
Yes, my lord.
I like him. I don't care if he's Duke Farrell the disliked. I like him.
A cold man, and a mysterious one. Yet he could have attacked while I was so foolishly distracted with my search, could have demanded some forfeit in exchange for my trespass. Instead, he waited for an explanation, and then sent me on my way. He may yet be a villain, but not a mindless one. A clever villain, of course, is even more dangerous. So we're going to slip back to the hidden halls, but there's no sign of Dolores nor any other observers. I must return to Oscar. I wish I had more to tell him. He's done nothing wrong. I know he hasn't. An honest investigation cannot point back to him because he is innocent. Logically, therefore, this mess should not come to roost over our heads, but that doesn't mean it won't. It is my task to defend him in all ways, to guard him from danger, to save him from dishonor, and to present him in the best possible light. Rescuing a lost princess would make him a hero, one that any woman would want as her husband. What greater laurel could I earn for him? I can't give him what he wanted from me. This is the only gift I can offer. That, of course, is if I succeed. If I do not, if the scandal is pinned to his name, I will not fail him. I will find Cassidy. Where we're going to go back to Oscar. There was again no one on guard in front of our rooms, so it was simple for me to unlock the door and slip back inside. Oscar was not on hand to greet me. He may be resting his sore head, which is worrying in itself. He was knocked unconscious earlier, however briefly. His injury may be worse than it appeared. Before I can speak, a figure barrels out of the bedroom, and it is not Oscar. Intruder! And now we get to have a fight, which we've already seen before, so I won't read the whole thing. But he's a strong fighter. He comes at me again, testing my reflexes.
One move of his longsword toward my eye and then circling down to slice at my feet, both times easily brushed aside. He jerks back, fearful of any injury to his hands, and leaves himself open. He ran further than I expected, and I catch only the air. I turn my head to find my target behind me and to the side, again making a wild overhead swing. My assailant stumbles, falling back against the heavy marble fireplace while I climb to my feet. Looks like that impact left a bruise, though nowhere near enough to put him out of the fight. I bare my teeth and snarl, then leap forward, tapping his sword at full speed with first one dagger, then the other, getting him used to the pattern of parrying. When the moment comes, I trap his sword between my blades and give it a wrench that would have sent it flying from the hands of an untrained man. This one retains his grip, but for the moment, his weapon is neutralized. It is Prince Caleb? By the blue sky, what do you think you're doing? Testing you. I could have killed you. He smirks at me and casually eases his sword from my control. I don't think so. A prince should have the best tutors and more skill in sword fighting than the clumsy attacks he demonstrated on me. That is true. Of course, he is one of many, a neglected younger son, as he said. Why are you here? I require your aid. You want to get my help by breaking into my room and attacking me. I needed to be sure you would not freeze in a crisis. I need a pair of hands I can rely on, and not another burden. So Caleb wants our help, with subterfuge, in order to rescue Princess Cassidy. You don't know me. You must have servants of your own. I need someone with no connections. That means you, Valois of Osendower. You are going to do exactly as I tell you, for 2 reasons. 1, because I need your help to rescue my sister. And 2, he pulls open the inner door, revealing a factor that I should have considered earlier. Because if you don't, I'll slit your master's throat. Oscar! And that ends chapter 1, and I'm going to stop there. Let me see if I can save. Yes, I can. And we will pick this up in another video. So once again, that was the prologue in chapter 1 for the Oscar walkthrough. Now, technically, none of our choices so far actually affect, at least as the game is right now, and I know Hanako Games frequently makes updates to their games, but right now, your choices don't really affect your path until, well, I shouldn't say they don't affect your path until chapter 5, because that's not really true. In chapter 3 or 4, when you're at the spring, you do have to talk to Oscar instead of talk to Caleb, and then you have to, make some decisions about talking about his feelings. But in terms of like prologue in chapter 1, I think it's probably a good idea to be nice to him, but I don't know that it actually affects the actual ending. So, but okay, so again, that was chapter 1 and the prologue for our Oscar walkthrough. This was The Royal Trap by Hanako Games, and my name is Anna Mardal, and thank you so much for listening, watching along with me, and I will see you in the next video.